strategic partnership for higher education, innovation, and humanitarian response, collaborative communication, and civic coexistence.
Life needs words. If it were enough to life, it would not be through. It is through it is because life needs words. The word that is mirror, the word that clarifies it, the word that enhances it, that elevates and at the same time declare its failed, because it is a human thing, and what is human is both glory and failure at the same time.
Muy buenas. Nos encontramos en Auschwitz, un lugar que sirve para recordar en la memoria a miles de personas que sufrieron y padecieron hace muchos años, y parece que la historia se repite a pocos kilómetros de aquí. No hay nada como el conocimiento, el saber, el recordar, para entender que la historia la podemos transformar nosotros, sobre todo hacer que la realidad cada día sea como nosotros queramos que sea, y podemos hacer de ella un infierno o podemos hacer un cielo. Para hacerla un infierno es muy fácil, repetir todas las cosas que durante siglos la especie humana ha hecho, que es el odio, la venganza, la tragedia, el dolor, el sufrimiento, el convertirlo en una forma de estar en el mundo y de distinguirse de los otros, competir contra los otros, pero también podemos hacer de este espacio un espacio de convivencia, un espacio de amor, un espacio de Edén, hacer de la tierra un Edén. Y para eso nada mejor que el conocer, el saber, para no volver a repetir las cosas que entendemos hemos hecho mal, e intentar cada día hacer las cosas mejor. Ese es el propósito.
I would like us to start by thinking about the reflection. Bad news is punctual, breaking, cutting down, killing. Good news is gradual, caring, sowing, gestation. Obviously, in humanitarian crisis, communication is fundamental. On many occasions, interaction between people takes place with limited time or in space of vulnerability, which is why effective price collaborative communication strategies are required, so that the relationship between people in itself, a basic tool, is the care and attention of people. We propose the humanization of languages in the care of people. We understand that communication is the best formula for a good diagnosis, and design that favors effective work and also an evaluation that result in the continuous improvement of the strategies and tools used in the communication process with people in this context. Listening, speaking, and dialogue are not elements that are close to us, but are reality that constitutes us human beings and are the essence of our social reality. By humanizing language, the person feels like a participant, and this horizontal relationship means that in this situation where there is usually stress, anguish, and uncertainty, the word, apart from relieving, by the simple fact of being able to express oneself and to share, the careful word, attentive listening, or respectful silence can be fundamental factors of highlight.
Carl Bergstrom mentioned in the book written together with fellow researcher Jevin Wetz Against Bullshit that bullshit spread through the networks like an infectious disease. Because people don't spread misinformation with the idea of doing so, but because doing so reinforces their loyalty to the tribe to which they belong. Deep down, you don't care whether what you start is true or not, because all you are looking for is to reinforce that image of a person. And they argue that is the face of bullshit, idiocy, fallacy, and nonsense. It is necessary to be less informed but much better informed and not to encourage us out of frivolity, inertia, or laziness. It is easier to launch and viralize a hoax than to deny it truthfully and forcefully.
Paradoxically, we live in a society in which we are more connected than ever. But at the same time, people feel lonely, disconnected, and paralyzed. Moreover, in health emergency situations, different circumstances, such as death of companions, concatenation of adverse situations, are reasons that do social factors, relational deficiency, or lack of skills. Evidently, many people manage worse than others and experience them with great difficulty. We live in a world where we are moving towards more close social networks because we can no longer tolerate not being right, says Leticia Rodriguez. We also know that we live in a society where there is an express of information. In fact, we live constantly online, but this does not give us more freedom or more information. On the contrary, most of the message that occupy us almost all day long are hollow and are produced without minimum standards of reflection or respect when we are not hoaxes or fake news. Languages has simply become a filter to communicate, to identify ourselves with our peers who think and think like us, and to safeguard us from the rest who are, of course, unscrupulous. This is great field helped by algorithm and constantly make us receive information that we like and want, and we obviate other opinions of different points of view. In this way, reflection is lost. We talk about outdoors to panic, and this situation professional interaction is reduced and becomes more of tug of war and control and attempt to relieve rather than a dialogue and reflection and encounter than that we are trying to achieve. Evidently, social networks have changed people's lives for better and for worse. And although they are not the main cause of polarization, they fit a new way of communication with each other and also a new form of communication and public interaction, in which fear, scorn, and self-censorship often prevail. By way, for example, Jonathan Haidt said that we are rebuilding the Tower of Babel in the world where we couldn't understand each other better. But paradoxically, we do not understand each other. Added to this, of course, is the fact of that we live in an ephemeral present and we breakneck speed, which are the fundamental characteristics of and reflective communication.
The point of union with the others is through language, in communication, in conversation, in debate, in dialogue, from the interaction to the potentialities of the person and identifier. From a motivational approach, the professional facilitates dialogue, not only observes, analyzes, quantifies, and objectifies. The strategist plays as more in front of an action script than a still picture. It is necessary to examine the certainties and uncertainties of the situation, the probabilities and the improbabilities. Strategy leads us to make modifications required, but the information gathered change starts on opportunities that occur along the way, and this modification are brought about by interaction, by the relationship, by communication in the process.
In the face of so much noise, or to break the silence, it is necessary to break down the walls. In order to better understand how to care for people in humanitarian catastrophe situations, this summer we shared with Ukrainian refugees their reality for a few kilometers from the border, specifically in Krakow, Poland. Our fundamental tool has been language, but not only in terms of words, but above all in terms of listening and understanding in order to generate dialogue. In the book Ideas on the Complexity of the Word, Banzenberg proposed three principles of the scientific method for communication. The first principle is that of objectivity, which is achieved through good conversation. The second principle is that of intelligibility, with anticipation and knowledge that a good understanding is necessary. And the third principle is dialectic, so that there is a thesis and antithesis and synthesis is generated. And since communication is a transformative process of change, it is necessary to stimulate so that the best of each person can emerge through words.
Give more weapons! Give more weapons! Give more weapons! Give more weapons! Send your soldiers! Send your soldiers! Send your soldiers! Send your soldiers! Russia is a terrorist state! 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 Silence support Russia! Silence support Russia! Silence support Russia! Stop Russia! Stop war! Stop Russia! Stop war! Stop war! Stop terror! Stop war! Stop terror! Stop Russia! Stop war! Stop Russia! Stop war! Stop war! Stop terror! Stop war! Stop terror! Silence is violence! Silence is violence! Silence is violence! Silence is violence! NATO close the sky! NATO close the sky! NATO close the sky! NATO close the sky!
Саме перше скажи, як тебе звати?
Софія.
Софія. І звідки ти?
Херсон. 4 месяца. Первый день, когда мы собирались в школу, и мы говорим, все пишут, мы в школу не пойдем, а Елена Григорьевна пишет, никто в школу не пойдет, война. Ну, мы ехали на машине, один перед нами, два таких чеченца, один перед нами лезгинку танцевал, а второй стал над ним и запел. Ну, вообще, они радуются, а война.
Доброго дня, як тебе звати?
Ліна,
Скільки тобі років?
18.
Розповідай свою історію.
Коли почалась війна, я була в Україні, це були канікули, взагалі я навчаюсь тут в Кракові. Я взагалі думала зостатися до кінця. Ми з батьками почали ходити в волонтерський центр вже на другий день війни. І мені дуже подобалось допомагати, я почувала, що я щось роблю. І це дуже нам допомагало всім, що ми насправді не сиділи і не думали про те, що може статися. Ми діяли. Але мої батьки вирішили, що потрібно мене евакуювати, що в мене тут навчання, яке треба продовжувати. І я була вимушена повернутися. Це було дуже важко знов зрозуміти, як допомогти, що зробити. Було дуже важко пристосуватися до того, що тут життя йде нормальне і люди не дуже переймаються тим, що тільки за кілька кілометрів люди помирають страшною смертю. І коли я знайшла цих ребят тут, це було неймовірно.
Доброго дня. Як тебе звати? Даша. Скільки тобі років? 18. І можеш розповідати свою історію?
Як я опинилась тут на протестах? Коли почалась війна, я була в Києві, сама без своїх батьків, бо там навчаюсь на музиканта. І ми з моєю подружкою виїжджали до її батьків, бо вона живе в Івано-Франківську. І потім згодом я потрапила сюди, у Краків, і знайшла ці протести. І запитала себе, чим би я змогла допомагати цим протестам. Я можу співати, виступати на протестах. І так з того моменту кожного дня, двічі на день співала.
Доброго дня, мене звати Галина. Я з міста Херсон. Я в Польщу приїхала раніше, працювала тут. І війна мене застала в Щецині. Син подзвонив і сказав: мамо, не їдь додому, бо Херсон окупований, тобі нема де вертатись. А я би така готова була полетіти навіть. Я хотіла йти в військо, воювати, захищати Україну. А син сказав: мама, ми самі вже справимось, зараз зовсім друга війна, вже не така, як починалася в 2014 році, бо він в 2014 році теж добровольцем пішов на фронт.
І зараз він там?
Там, так. Він зараз там. А я як можу, то допомагаю тут. Я приходжу на мітинги щодня, підтримую їх, відсилаю йому мітинги наші, те, як ми ходимо до консуляту, до американського, як співаємо тут українські пісні. Каже: мама, твій вклад безцінний. Те, що ти робиш, так і роби, продовжуй. Він мене завжди підтримує, а я його підтримую.
Це саме головне.
Так.
Дякую.
Дякую.
Ми ямо Андрій, у нас немає жодної організації, ми просто українці, які збираємося тут. Війна прокинувся, там друг подзвонив, на Viber задзвонив. Ще було так, вийшло 24 лютого, з 5 ранку, я так дивуюся, чому він дзвонить, 5 ранку, а він не відбрав. Щось в мене в серці тьохнуло, я подивився в інтернет. Знав, що війна, і зразу що робити. І вибіг сюди на вулиці, дивитися, де ми під російський консулят, всюди протести, все. І так з першого дня до тепер. Так. Важлива наша мета, щоб ми не переривались, щоб показували, що потрібно це робити.
Our communication strategies involves getting to know the histories of the people who live in this reality. These are many communication guides that inform, guide and advise. Here is an example of one which you can consult on the internet, of course. 4 things are clear. First, communication has to protect and care in contexts that are complex. Second, communication also serves to organize to verify new and check date. All this is necessary for communication to be as ethically sound as possible. Third, we have to choose very well which communication channels we use, the offline ones and the online ones, such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or many others that exist. And fourth, but above all, our proposal is that communication has to be oriented towards the common good.
To archive this communication, we propose that it has to generate awareness. For this, it seems that sometimes we live in a society where being a victim has become a status, where it seems that if we focus information as catastrophic or we sweeten it as idyllic, it seems that we reach more people. But one thing is sensibility and another sensibility, and sometimes there is too much of the latter and a lack of the former. The first is that we are conscious, but in a reflexive way, and that generates awareness. The other generates emotion, but they takes us life in a back and a forth, in a constant slide, and then we don't look for that either. It is also necessary to find a space and a time in which we think happen. There, where they happen, and who does them. Information has to be socially and culturally contextualized, because it is very easy from our ethnocentric view to base it on our reality. But we have to see with kaleidoscopic view that there are multitude of realities, because we live in a shared world. Giving prominence to the protagonists is fundamental. The testimonies of the people involved in interested should take precedence over the interpretation of third parties. We are very accustomed to seeing talk shows experts on topics who often know about everything. We must avoid stereotypes and generalities, and the people who go deeper into the real problems and experience that occur are, obviously, the people who suffer from them now have to listen, clarify, and shed light of the information that they give us. Faced with unjust situation, we feel anger and impotence, and we must denounce the obstacles, the cause of the misery. The reality is the being experience, analyzing and interdependence and co-responsibility of those who have it. But it must also to be linked to a proposal stating that we can be done to improve or transform the reality, which at that moment is difficult. And finally, as we said, our proposal, the common good, avoiding the kinds of discrimination, racial, sexual, cultural, and religious, socioeconomic. In this world, which we have already said, it is shared and in which there is room for all of us. The invasion suffered by the Ukrainian people on 24th February of 2022 has prompted initiatives from different parts of the world by public and private organizations to tackle this humanitarian crisis. They are moved by solidarity. People like us are also beginning to organize themselves through the associative movement to help more than 4 million refugees who are suffer from having to leave their homes. Segovia, a small city in Spain, does not remain on the sidelines of this civic response, and driven by Association of Ukrainians in Segovia and supported by the City Council of Segovia. Strategies are implemented, and civic coexistence programs are developed to ensure that Ukrainian families settled in this city, Sofia, live in the difficult context in the best possible way. Faced with a reality that exists, faced with a problem, we understand that it is necessary to give a response and therefore spontaneously a group of people mobilized by a common goal to do what we can for the Ukrainian people. From a distance, each with our mission to do the best possible for that purpose. The group of the people becomes the association which in a cooperative way with a division of tasks begins its work, with a communication strategies being fundamental in the process of humanitarian reception. For example, social networks such as Instagram, Facebook or WhatsApp help us to mobilize, organize, ask for the help and report on what is happening. They also serve to unite, to meet, to facilitate the task of coordination. Meetings serve to create bonds, to carry out the task by cooperating with each other, informing, guiding, and advising those who are newcomers and do not have enough information is also essential. Being facilitators and mediators with institutions, organizations, and individuals also serves to improve communication between the association and the public. Internally, in the association, there is also communication which favors creativity and fruitful dialogue. The motivation of the group, encouraging, stimulating, evaluating, showing results, seeing results, avoid falling into apathy, and despite the harsh reality that everyone remains encouraged to be able to contribute the best of each one of these difficult contexts. A concrete case of this good communication is shown in this video.
Acaban de cumplirse 7 meses de la invasión rusa a Ucrania. Los primeros refugiados llegaron a Segovia hace casi medio año. Buscar trabajo y vivienda es lo que necesitan ahora y para eso es fundamental el idioma. Desde la Asociación de Ucranianos de Segovia organizan clases de conversación para poner en práctica actividades cotidianas.
Madre mía, qué cabeza tengo. No llevo las gafas y no veo 3 burros sin ellas.
Vaya, ahora vamos a llegar tarde por tu culpa.
Natalia y Julia ensayan el texto de sus clases de conversación en español. Comenzaron en mayo y 4 meses después cuesta creer que cuando llegaron a Segovia no conocían ni una palabra del idioma.
Ahora sí, más fácil, pero hablar muy difícil. Estudiamos todos los días 2 horas.
Refuerzan con voluntarias los conocimientos de las clases que reciben semanalmente con sus ONGs de acogida, Cruz Roja y ACEM.
Collaborative communication, humanized language, put a face, see concrete realities. Each one of us is a being with an inner reality. We have our knowledge. We have our feelings. We live in an environment, in a context, in a world which is shared, and in this shared world we learn through analogy and comparison. Sentient communication, we are carry out our action with an intention. We have an intentionality. Even when we do not want to have intentions and we do or not do according to what we interpret of this reality of the world. Language is essential communication. It is what really brings us together, what links us to the environment, to the context. Culture and creative can be communicated, transmitted horizontally, and become better people. Thus, and based on the contribution of Antonio López Peláez and Susana de Andrés del Campo, we would like to conclude by proposing communicative strategies. The first one is to give importance to communication with oneself and with others, dedicating the necessary space and time to it. And that means a good welcome, a good greeting, a good smile, and a good service, knowing that every process is essential, but the welcome is fundamental in an environment in which the intention is centered on the person. It is also essential to know the relational and cultural environment of the people in order to favor listening, understanding, and dialogue. It is very difficult to try, with our always partial and often ethnological vision, to think what everyone like us. We must be open to this kaleidoscopic view, to this tolerance, to this respect for human diversity. It is also necessary to generalize lines with people as a value in itself if there is no climate of trust, openness, generosity, and loyalty. We will be giving biased, partial information, but we will not get to the depth of people, because people only open up when they feel listened to, when they feel understood. Always respect people disagreeing with their opinions if they are not ethnically acceptable, with serenity and rationality. In this situation, we will obviously encounter many ethical dilemmas in many scenarios that are not all pleasant, and where sometimes for many people the end justifies the means. We need to take care of our relationship by being consistent and depending on our human relationship. If there is something that characterizes people throughout history, it is the capacity from this communicative expression and the nourishment of which is care. We must take care of this language and this relationship. And there is no better way to do this than being coherent and going deeper and deeper, inviting to know people more and more. Through this attentive listening, pushes the logic of being before the logics of having. As we said at the beginning, destructive logics tend to be an instant, and the creative logics tend to be a process. And these are achieved by recovering meeting space, providing others with a space for exchange in freedom and intimacy. Strengthening the links between people by trying to reach arguments and respecting them of responsible dissent. Accepting failures, and also why not celebrating success, but knowing that it is good to cultivate moderation and temperance of this context. We must share moments of creativity and also of joy, above abandoning the aggressiveness and victimhood. That is something sometimes not to read, especially on social networks. With this dialogue, we believe that good communication can be achieved in situations of conflict and humanitarian crisis.
Communication from the common good. We can become the best version of ourselves and build a better world through communication that is for everyone. With this communication, we intend that, as in our origins, converting craftsmanship into capacity, but not with the facilities we had with the technological, logistical, design, tools or our time. We will be able to communicate in the same way as we did in our origins. We are capable of transforming everyday life into a facilitator and cooperator of tenderness, so that through care we can transform that human fragility through the power that communication generalities in which responsibility is shared, with listening, understanding, and dialogue into the stream of virtue to make each day, despite the difficulties, a better day.
But I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. Heaven as a good old man. Imagine all the people sharing all the fun. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Thank you very much. For any questions, this is my email. Thank you.